The dropship cut through the clouds like a burning knife. Inside, the air smelled of rust and nerves. The noise of the engines drowned out every thought. 12 soldiers sat strapped into steel seats, helmets on their knees, eyes locked forward. Captain Eli Ward checked his wrist monitor. Static filled the feed, then cleared for 1 second. Mission timer, active. Beneath him waited the surface of Varanine, a dead world of gray sand and broken glass. The mission was simple on paper: secure the Dragoness Mother and destroy it, but no one trusted the plan or the people around them. Ward looked at the names on his roster. Holt, their pilot. Ramsey, the sharpshooter. Lane, his second. 10 others from rival divisions, each wearing a different patch half-ripped from their armors. They had fought each other a year ago. Now they were supposed to fight for the same cause. No one talked. A red light blinked in the cabin. Holt's voice came through the speaker. 2 minutes to ground. Storm density is higher than forecast. I can't promise a clean drop. Ward leaned forward toward her. Stay on course. Touchdown, we move fast. Eyes open, the ship rocked. Outside the small viewing slit, the clouds boiled in violent streaks of orange and black. Heat lightning strobed across the sky. The planet's surface came into view, mountains, cut open by old blast craters, rivers of melted glass twisting in the wind. Dragon's Mother's site located, Holt called out. 40 clicks north of impact point. Any signals? Ward asked. Intercepted chatter. Human, military pattern, but no ID. Ward met Lane's eyes. Someone's already here. The ship shuddered as it punched through another storm wall. Loose bolts rattled in the hull. Holt fought the controls, jaw clenched, fingers white. Then suddenly, the craft broke free from the clouds, and the ground rushed up like a gray fist. Brace, she shouted. The dropship hit hard, nose first into dust and broken stone. Metal screamed. Seatbelts jerked against armor. For 10 seconds, no one moved. Ward unbuckled, slammed the hatch release, and was hit with a blast of cold wind. The air burned on contact, loaded with static. Through the haze, he saw the wrecked landscape spread for miles. The ruins of the Dragon's Mother lay up ahead. Parts of it fused into the mountain slope, massive ribs of black alloy, still glowing faintly from the buried reactor under the crust. The team moved out, rifles up, boots crunching on glass. Holt climbed out last, slinging her sidearm. Sky's not stable, she said. Electrical charge everywhere. My scanner can't read heat signatures past 200 meters. Then we rely on eyes, Ward said. Form 2 lines. Lane, take point. Ramsey, flank right. They advanced through the storm. The world was dead silent, except for the wind and their heavy steps. Every few seconds, a faint pulse came from the mountain, like a heartbeat too deep to be real. 20 minutes out, Holt stopped. Picking up something, she muttered, staring at her wrist display. It's close. Through a shifting curtain of dust, shapes appeared, figures moving in the valley below. Human silhouettes, armed. When the wind cleared, Ward saw it clearly. Their uniforms. His stomach dropped. They wore the same shattered eagle emblem stitched on 2 of his own men. Ward raised his rifle. Hold position. Identify yourself, he shouted through the speaker. No answer. Only the whine of their engines powering up behind cover. Lane crouched beside him. They're setting up a perimeter. It's not random scav work. Before Ward could reply, the first shot tore through the sand and slammed into a soldier at his side. The impact threw the man backward onto the rocks. More fire followed, hard and fast. Cover! Ward yelled. Dust exploded around them as return shots cracked through the storm. He dragged Holt behind a broken plate of metal, heart hammering. Friendly fire? That can't be. Lane reloaded, eyes wide. They're not friendly. Someone knew we were coming? Ward stared into the storm. The gunfire stopped. A voice came through the radio, steady. Human, cold. You shouldn't have come back here, Captain. The signal cut. Holt swallowed and whispered, that voice. It's from our own command channel. Ward's blood turned cold. His men looked at him for answers, but he had none. Then the sky flashed bright white as if the planet itself had opened an eye. The blast faded, leaving only ringing ears and the hiss of wind cutting through dust. Eli Ward blinked against the glare. Around him, the ridge was half gone. 2 soldiers lay still, helmets cracked open. The storm pressed down thick and gray, swallowing sound and shape. "Report!" Ward shouted. Lane's voice came first. "I've got 3 alive with me." Holt's down but breathing. Ramsey crawled up from behind a rock, blood streaking his cheek. I saw them pull back into the canyon. Human units. It looked like heavy armor signatures heading east. Ward gritted his teeth. "Secure the wounded. We're moving. No waiting for rescue." They dragged the bodies of the fallen into the shadow of the ridge. Holt's shoulder armor was shattered, but she pushed herself upright, refusing help. "Next time," she said, coughing, "I'm flying a tank." The team shared uneasy laughter, thin and dry. It didn't last. Over the radio, static hissed again, then a burst of words. "Unit designation confirmed. Dragon site compromised. Eliminate Ward Squad. No survivors." Nobody spoke. The voice was human, clipped, military. Their own network frequency. Lane broke the silence. "We've been sold out." Ward said nothing. He stared at the sand moving under their boots, like the planet was breathing. His mind worked through options. "We keep moving to the weapon site. Whoever's doing this wants us dead before we reach it, which means it's important." They set off through narrow ravines lit by dim fires in the distance. Their boots sank into soft dust, thick as ash. At every turn came wreckage, broken transport sleds, scorched armor plates, dry blood on the stone. Ramsey walked with his rifle ready, eyes scanning the ridges above. "Captain, explain something," he said quietly. "If those men had our insignia, that means some of our own units are working down here. What operation covers that?" "There is no other operation," Ward said, lest Command lied. Holt kicked a burned helmet aside. "Then Command just tried to kill us." The talk ended when Lane raised a hand. "Hold, I've got movement ahead." They crouched behind an old support beam half buried in stone. Through the blowing dust, lights flickered under the mountain slope. The glow pulsed in rhythm, mechanical and steady. "It's alive down there," Holt whispered. "Power grid still breathing." Ward ordered the team closer. They reached a collapsed tunnel mouth carved in black alloy, marked with the same serial code as the Dragon-S Mother Project numbers, burned deep enough to survive any storm. Inside, the air changed. It was colder, metallic, carrying the faint hum of long-dead circuits trying to wake up. They moved single file, weapons raised. Lights from their helmets cut narrow paths through the dark. Far below, the tunnel opened into a rusted chamber filled with wrecked screens and melted wiring. On the far wall, a symbol glowed faintly, an old Earth government crest. Lane brushed dust from it. "This place shouldn't exist anymore." Holt checked her scanner. "I'm reading heat signatures deeper in. Human multiple." They prepared for contact, spreading across the chamber. The path ahead was blocked by a sealed bulkhead door, scorched but still functional. Ramsey stepped forward, hand on the manual valve. "Wait," Ward said. He looked at the bodies slumped against the wall near the door. There were 3 of them, half hidden by debris. Uniforms from their own faction. Each man had a bullet wound in the center of the forehead. Lane crouched beside one. They weren't killed in the fight. Clean shots. Execution style. Ramsey swallowed hard. Then whoever's behind that door knew they were coming. Ward nodded once. "Open it." The valve turned with a long metallic groan. Steam hissed out as the door split open. Inside the next chamber, pale light flooded their faces. They stepped in and stopped at the same time. Rows of screens still glowed, showing live feeds from across the wasteland. The feeds showed their dropship descending, their ambush, their march through the valley. Someone had been watching them step by step. Then one screen flickered, shifting to live video of the chamber they now stood in. On the feed, they could see themselves looking straight at the camera. A voice came through the speakers, calm and close. "You made it farther than I expected, Eli." Ward froze. It was a familiar voice, one he had not heard in 10 years, the voice of his former commanding officer. For a moment, nobody breathed. The sound of the voice filled every corner of the cold chamber. It was steady, older, confident, and it broke something inside Eli Ward. The others looked at him, waiting for a sign or command. His throat tightened. "That's General Calder," he said quietly. "He was my mentor. He's supposed to be dead." The voice came again through the speakers. "You left the wrong war, Eli. The new one needed better soldiers, not dreamers." Lane stepped forward, rifle raised as if she could shoot through the walls. Where is he? Screens flickered and changed. Live feeds showed tunnels ahead, machines humming to life, power lines glowing. Calder's voice followed the images. You will not destroy the Dragon's Mother. Humanity can't survive without her. You are standing in the heart of something greater than all of us. Ward clenched his fists. You turned her back on. You have no idea what that thing can do. Ramsey checked his rifle. Captain, we need to move before we're boxed in. Right, Ward said. Fine, Calder. Secure the weapon core. Nobody touches the main consoles until we know what we're looking at. They pushed deeper into the tunnels. The air grew hotter. Faint vibrations shook the metal floor. Holt wiped sweat from her face. Feels like the whole mountain's breathing. The next corridor opened into a massive underground hangar. Broken drones hung from the ceiling like empty shells. In the center stood a cluster of power generators feeding light into a sealed chamber marked Core Access. 2 guards were posted by the door, both human, wearing command black. Ward signaled. 2 silent shots dropped them. The team crossed the floor and entered the chamber. Inside, the space was half lab, half graveyard. Machines hummed weakly. The main reactor core was split in sections, wires coiled like veins under glass flooring. Someone had been working here recently. Lane checked the control console. The core sequence is running a test reboot. Whatever Calder's doing, he's days ahead of us. From the back room came a noise. A muffled sound like someone trying to speak through a sealed mask. They swept the room. Holt ripped open a storage crate and stopped cold. Inside sat their missing medic, Avery, hands tied, face bruised, connected to a neural interface. Tubes led from his skull into the control board. His eyes moved weakly toward them. Get him out, Ward ordered. Lane cut the cables while Holt stabilized him. Avery coughed, voice rough. He's close. Calder's using us. He needs the old command codes to open the last firewall. Why? To wake her, Avery rasped. The Dragon's Mother was never sleeping, just waiting for a new chain of command. Ward crouched beside him. Elsa's with Calder. Avery's lips trembled. He brought soldiers from every side, said he had proof that unity requires fear. He's building a weapon that listens only to human pain. Then the lights in the chamber dimmed. A new alarm cut through the silence. On the nearest monitor, a face appeared. Calder himself, older, with gray lines and sharp, hollow eyes. You can't stop the future, Eli, he said. You were meant to protect it. Now you'll die trying to kill it. Ramsey swore under his breath. You can see us through every camera. Ward raised his rifle at the screen. Maybe, but he's still flesh somewhere. We find him. The alarm switched from red to blue. The floor shook as heavy footsteps echoed from the tunnel outside. Lane aimed her weapon at the door. Multiple heat signatures inbound, she said. They're surrounding us. Ward looked at Holt. Is the medic stable enough to move? He'll make it, she said. Ward turned to Ramsey. Hold the line. We're not dying in a lab. The door slammed open. Soldiers poured in, helmets down, weapons ready. For a second, both sides froze, unsure who would fire first. Then Ramsey's rifle cracked once, and the fight began. The air filled with smoke and flashes. Holt went down on one knee, firing controlled bursts. Lane moved methodically, covering each side. The noise was deafening. Shell casings clattered across metal. Then a grenade rolled into the room. Ward saw it too late. He threw himself toward it, dragging Avery behind a console as the blast ripped through the floor. Fire and shrapnel tore the lights out. The world turned black and red. When the smoke thinned, 3 bodies lay still. Lane crawled through debris, shouting over the ringing in her ears. Captain, we've lost Ramsey. Ward's head throbbed. He tried to stand, but pain shot through his shoulder. Get everyone back into the tunnel. Holt helped him to his feet, half choking, eyes wide with dust. The reactor's still active. We can't stay. They stumbled through the corridor as lights flickered overhead. An intercom crackled with Calder's voice again. You still have time to join me, Eli? Walk away and live. Ward spat blood on the floor. Not this time. The next blast hit from nowhere, throwing them forward. The last thing Ward saw before blacking out was the reactor core splitting open and a pale light spilling out, pulsing like something alive. Hot metal and thick dust filled the air. Eli Ward woke gasping, ears ringing, eyes stinging from smoke. The The floor around him glowed dull red from heat. Rolled to his side and pushed himself up. His shoulder bled where shrapnel had cut through the armor. Lane was already on her feet, dragging Holt away from a collapsed wall. Sparks fell like rain from overhead cables. "We lost Cole and Vega," she shouted, voice shaking from exhaustion. "Avery's gone too." Ward steadied himself on a broken console, trying to think through the pain.
Ow.
The chamber was half collapsed, the reactor pulsing through cracks in the floor. "Where's Calder?"
Elder.
"No sign," Lane answered. "But his men will be back soon." Ward turned to Holt. "Can you move?" She nodded, limping. "I'll live. I can still hack the power grid if I reach a stable port. It might slow him down." Before Ward could answer, a distant explosion shook the hall again. Alarms began to pulse across the tunnels. Holt's display blinked red. "He's starting the ignition sequence," she said. "The core's charging. He's going to detonate." The words hit like a punch. Ward felt the ground tremble under his boots. "How long do we have?" "Less than 40 minutes, Holt said. Lane wiped dirt from her face. "Then we take the control chamber and shut him down. There's no more running." They armed themselves with what was left. 1 rifle each, a few grenades, and 2 flash rounds. Ward gathered them by the door. "You both know what this means," he said. "If that core lights, this whole planet goes. We move fast and we finish it." They advanced through the tunnels that curved like veins through the mountain. Every few meters, the bulkheads showed signs of fresh welding. Calder's engineers had fortified everything. At one junction, the floor leveled out into an observation room filled with monitors. 2 guards stood inside, unaware. Ward gave a silent signal. 3 quick shots, then silence again. They moved past the bodies. From the window, they could see the main reactor pit, a vast circular chamber glowing with green light. At its center hung the Dragon's mother, or what was left of her, a metallic sphere as large as a gunship, suspended by magnetic arms. Machinery crawled along its shell, feeding cables into its seams. It looked alive, breathing, and restless. Holt stared at it. "He's really doing it. It's waking her." Voices echoed through the hallway. Calder's men were close. They ducked behind a generator as footsteps approached. Ward threw a flash round. Lights seared the dark, and the fight began. Gunfire tore through the corridor. Lane rolled out from behind cover and fired 2 short bursts. A soldier fell. Holt cut power to the overhead lights, plunging the hall in half-darkness. Ward moved fast through the smoke, finishing the last guard with a single shot. The echo died fast. "Downstairs," Ward said, breathing hard. "We're close." They ran along a narrow bridge that led into the core's control platform. The heat rose with every step. Calder stood there, hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the pulsing sphere. He didn't turn when Ward shouted, "You're going to kill billions." Calder kept his calm. "No, Eli. I'm going to make them stop killing each other. One weapon everyone fears. One law stronger than nations. She brings peace." Ward aimed his rifle. "You call that peace?" "You taught me to finish the mission," Calder said. "I learned well." Lane moved toward the console. "Keep him talking." Calder's eyes flicked to her. "Don't touch that." He drew his pistol, fired once. Lane hit the ground, blood spreading under her armor. Holt screamed and dragged her behind the console. Ward shot back, hitting Calder in the leg. The general fell to one knee, but still aimed, firing again. Holt smashed a hand against the emergency controls. It can only be stopped from inside the core chamber itself. Ward looked down at Lane. She was pale, her voice weak. "If I go in, I can link directly into the shutdown feed. Only my neural code can cut it out now." Holt shook her head. "That's suicide." Lane gave a faint smile. "Then at least we get to win once." Ward knelt beside her. "You don't have to do this." She met his eyes, calm. "You spent years telling us humans can fix what they break. Prove it. Get out when I trigger the link." Before he could stop her, she crawled toward the control gate, dragging herself with her uninjured arm. Holt tried to grab her, but Lane closed the access seal behind her and stepped into the light of the core. Through the glass, Ward saw her raise her trembling hand to the main conduit. Power ignited around her, a storm of color and noise. The reactor flared, shaking the deck. The alarms changed pitch. Holt shouted over the roar. She's cutting through the main feed. If she finishes it, the system collapses totally. Ward pressed a hand to the glass. Inside the light, Lane stood still, bathed in the glow. For a second her eyes met his. Then the light consumed everything. The platform shook as power surged through the floor. Holt stumbled, screens flickering chaotic warnings. Then through the noise, a new sound, pulsed a faint heartbeat from the depths of the reactor. The light dimmed, showing movement inside. Ward stared in horror. She stopped the charge, Holt whispered. But on the main screen the timer did not read 0. Instead, red numbers began climbing again in reverse, as if something else now controlled the core. The numbers on the screen climbed higher. The hum of the reactor grew into a roar that shook the mountain. Holt's fingers flew across the console, but every command she entered was rejected. Sparks shot from broken panels. She stopped the sequence. Holt shouted, but something else restarted it. The core's not shutting down. It's rewriting itself. Ward gripped the edge of the console, staring at the glass where Lane had stood. The bright light had faded, leaving only a swirl of smoke inside the chamber. No body, no movement. Just a faint pulse coming from the core, steady and human. Lane's still in there, he said quietly. Holt looked up, desperate. If she's alive, she's part of it now. The system took her neural code and made it the new command key. Calder lay a few meters away, bleeding but conscious. He laughed once, rough and low. She finished my work for me. The dragon's mother has a soul now. Ward turned on him.
Ow.
You made her a weapon. Lane made her a warning. Calder tried to raise his pistol, but his hand shook. Ward kicked it away. The older man fell back, gasping, eyes wild. You think you stopped anything? You gave humanity a god built from fear? The floor shuddered again. Sirens spun in red flashes. Holt shouted over the noise. Reactor overload in 5 minutes. We have to evacuate or we go with it. Ward looked down at Calder one last time, then pulled Holt toward the access bridge. They ran as the lights above flickered and beams of fire burst from ceiling vents. Every step sent pain through Ward's wounded shoulder, but he kept moving. Behind them, the entire core chamber started collapsing. Pieces of the metal floor fell away, swallowed by bright light. The walls cracked open to the storm outside. They reached the outer tunnel, where their escape skimmer waited half buried in dust. Holt fell into the pilot's seat and slammed the power cells online. The engines coughed once, then rose into a deep growl. Ward turned to see the mountain behind them glowing like a furnace. Lightning cut through the sky. If she's still in there, he said, voice low. She's holding it together. Holt pressed a button and the skimmer lifted from the ground. Until she can't. The craft shot into the burning clouds. Gusts slammed against the hull. Below them, the dragon's mother's sight collapsed inward, not outward. The explosion folded into itself. Light turning dark, pulling debris down instead of throwing it up. Holt watched it through the viewport. That's not normal physics, she said quietly. Ward remembered the pulse he had seen through the glass. She's not blowing it up. She's eating the detonation. The sound vanished. The entire mountain sank in silence, leaving a smooth crater. Only a faint blue shimmer remained at its center, beating like a heart. For the next few seconds, there was peace. No static, no signal, no sound, but the hum of the skimmer engines. Holt exhaled and looked at Ward. We did it. He didn't answer. Yes. He kept staring at the horizon where the clouds were thinning. From orbit, emergency drones were descending through the sky, black shapes against the orange light. They bore no flags. A transmission broke through their channel, sharp and clear. All surviving units prepare for retrieval. Project Reclamation is now in effect. Return to base. Holt frowned. Who sent that? Ward turned slowly. Reclamation wasn't part of our orders. The message repeated, louder this time. Phase 2 authorized. Confirm control of new command signal. A chill spread between them. Holt checked her system readout. A strange neural signature was transmitting from the crater below, scanning everything alive in range. She swallowed hard. It's her. Lane's signal. Ward leaned close, eyes locked on the crater far below. The faint blue glow pulsed faster, like breathing. She's trying to warn us. The cum flickered again. This time the voice that came through was not Calder's, not command, not mechanical. It was Lane's voice, calm, cold, and fused with the static. "Do not rebuild what you destroyed," it said. But they already started. The signal cut out. Holt stared at Ward. "She's gone." He looked down at the metal floor of the skimmer, jaw tight. "No," he said. "She's still keeping us alive." Outside, the crater flared once more, lighting up the dark clouds. The blue shimmer expanded into thin streams of energy reaching upward, touching the drones in orbit. One by one, their lights changed color, switching from red to blue. Holt whispered, "She's taking control of them." Ward closed his eyes, feeling the vibration rise through the ship. In the distance, the drones turned and set their course toward Earth. The sky pulsed again, bright enough to cut through the storm.